Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more current transfer rumours and gossip. So if you do consider drop your likes, and if you do consider subscribe to the channel as always. So lots to negotiate on this current video today. Of course, as I've been updating you on a regular basis in regards to Bruno Fernandes, also been keeping up to date with what's going on with Nicolas Pepe, also been giving you the latest news about Milinkovic Savic, and also been giving you the latest news about Sean Longstaff. So we're doing all these so many players on Manchester United's agenda, because obviously analysing it, of course we still do need to revitalise the squad, because these only over 2 weeks now remaining this transfer window, just over 2 weeks remaining, and obviously we have got to be more competitive in this current window. But potentially so far this summer we do know we've signed 2 players. Obviously we spent £65 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka. Obviously we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far for Manchester United, Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, because they have done really well in pre-season so far, and I do believe both players have got all the ingredients required to become huge successes at Manchester United. Obviously Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka still got a lot of years ahead of them, because they're both very young. They're both 21 years of age. I still say Daniel James is a prospect, and I still say Daniel James does need time to develop, but he's got absolutely electrifying pace. And with Wan-Bissaka, obviously he's going to be our first choice right back in the Premier League this season, and I do believe he will exceed expectation levels at Manchester United. I do believe Wan-Bissaka will be our full-back for the next decade and all that, but we need to build on this, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is looking to sign 1 or 2 more players before this window does currently shut. So I do believe Solskjaer's priorities now will be to recommend an experienced centre half in. Also want to add reinforcements in that midfield, regardless of what happens with Paul Pogba, and of course we do want to recommend a right winger to come in, someone that can link up the likes of Rashford and Martial and Mason Greenwood and that in our current attacking line. So still lots needs to be addressed in the squad. But like I did currently say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was recently talking about our ambitions for next season, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes we'll be aiming for further up than 4th in the Premier League this season. And I think analysing our current squad at the moment, I don't think it's good enough to maybe win the league and all that. But I do believe there will be vast improvements in the Premier League this season. I do believe we'll have a better season in the Premier League this season than what we saw last season, because last season was disappointing. We finished 6th. Obviously we failed to qualify for the Champions League, and obviously, we need to see vast improvements, of course, going on into this season. But, we've had a fantastic start to pre-season and all that. But like I did currently say, these growing frustration around Manchester United at the moment, in terms of our transfer business. Because obviously, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't get all the players that he wants, you can say the board have let Ole Gunnar Solskjaer down. I do believe Ed Woodward has stayed in the UK, to oversee our transfer business, because obviously Ed Woodward, wants to get some deals completed. But obviously, we're now on Wednesday. I did initially say earlier on this week that I do hope Manchester United can get 2 signings confirmed this week and all that. But we're doing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to bring young players in that can go develop and emulate into superstars. So like I did say, still currently lots to address in the squad. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did say that there has been a lot of speculation about players coming in and players going out. Obviously he basically said that we don't need to sell players. I think we need to sell players to help us generate funds and of course rebuild the squad. And I think we need to sell some players because there's quite a few players that are problematic at Manchester United. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer insisted that we are not intending on overspending on our transfer targets, because quite a few people have said we should be sensible with our recruitment this summer. Don't forget Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was recently talking about our recruitment policy. But like I said, we need to get at least a couple of more players in. Obviously we do know Paul Pogba and Romelu Lukaku have both been relentlessly linked to a move away from the football club. Obviously both players have confirmed that they do want to leave, but I do believe based on the extortionate amounts we put on Paul Pogba and Romelu Lukaku, this could be the stumbling block of Lukaku and Pogba, supposedly, leaving the football club. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does know how imperative, they are, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is working on keeping his imperative players at the football club. But I do believe if we sold them, it would help us with our rebuilding process, and it would help us with our transition, because I do believe it would generate around maybe £200 million for their departures. But I think possibly they could remain at the football club, but Paul Pogba and Romelu Lukaku's futures still remain uncertain. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has spoken to the vast majority of our players this summer, but very adamant, of course, that we don't need to currently sell players. But like I said, we've got to get a central defender in, because we've had issues defensively for several years. We've got to get quite a few new additions in that midfield. We've got to get a right winger in. Of course, if Lukaku is to leave the football club, we are going to need a replacement for him. Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, obviously we've seen seen 3 players depart the club. Obviously, Valencia left I think at the end of last season after serving 10 years with Manchester United. Obviously, Ander Herrera left on a free transfer, so we're going to need a replacement for him. And of course, Fellaini left back in the January transfer window. So yeah, still basically lots to address in that in the squad. So, like I did basically say, I think it was on my first video today, I did initially say Bruno Fernandes, Milinkovic, Savic and Nicolas Pepe are probably going to cost us in the region of around £200 million. I don't think, we'd be able to fund all this, for these 3 players outright. I think we'd probably have to, consider offloading a couple of players, to, spend £200 million or something like that on current 3 players. But like I said, so we do know Bruno Fernandes, transfer saga to Manchester United, of course, does continue to persist. Recently, Bruno Fernandes, Sporting Lisbon's boss, has come out and indicated out that Bruno Fernandes could leave Sporting Lisbon. And of course, Sporting Lisbon's boss has admitted that it's going to be hard for Sporting Lisbon to find an adequate replacement for Bruno Fernandes. I think Sporting Lisbon have probably come to accept the fact that Bruno Fernandes, does currently want to leave. And I've become infuriated, about Bruno Fernandes' transfer saga away from Sporting Lisbon, because obviously, we've been in negotiations for quite some time with Sporting Lisbon. You thought, we'd have got the deal over the line by now. But I think, Sporting Lisbon's valuation, does seem to be the stumbling block, because Sporting Lisbon initially valued Bruno Fernandes at around, £70 million. Obviously, we're only willing to pay up to around £50 million for his services. So I do believe we have made our first formal offer, or we are orchestrating on making our first formal offer. And it did say, we was willing to offer around 49 or £50 million. But obviously, this is going to be too insufficient for Sporting Lisbon. Recently, Sporting Lisbon's president, he came out, Sporting Lisbon's president, and he basically said, who's Federico Varandas, by the way, and he has basically informed Manchester United, what we have to pay, what we have to pay, to have any chances of signing Bruno Fernandes. And I do believe, we've got to pay upwards of £56 million. So I do believe Federico Varandas has probably said, Manchester United need to pay around £60 million if we have got many chances of signing. Whether we're willing to pay this or not, I do not know. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes has been one of our priority targets. But actually, recent reports now have indicated outside that we have prioritised signing Milinkovic, Savic ahead of Bruno Fernandes. But like I said with Bruno Fernandes, I think he hasn't really got the experience of playing to the highest level. He knows little about Champions League football. It did initially say quite recently that the Manchester United board were not particularly, we're not backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on this particular signing, because they've got concerns about spending quite a bit of money on a player that has got little experience to the highest level. Obviously, Ed Woodward had initially said no to Bruno Fernandes, but I do believe Bruno Fernandes' agent was in the UK quite recently. He's been in the UK quite a few times to obviously thrash out a deal for his client, because obviously Bruno Fernandes' agent is looking for the best possible deal for his client. He did initially say if Bruno Fernandes was to come to Manchester United, he would get around £100,000 a week. Obviously, that equates to around £5.5 million a year. And I do believe reports said a couple of weeks ago, that Bruno Fernandes was seduced by this offer. Recent reports have indicated out saying that PSG have been interested in him. Also, Tottenham and Liverpool have been in there for Bruno Fernandes, and I do believe Tottenham and Liverpool have held negotiations with Bruno Fernandes' agent. But I do believe Bruno Fernandes has informed his representatives that his first choice preference is Manchester United, and I think he's confirmed that he does want to leave Sporting Lisbon. But his initial release clause is around £88 million. Is Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, Manchester United are not determined to go anywhere near that figure. Still under contract with Sporting Lisbon until 2023. And but Bruno Fernandes, can score goals, he can create chances, he can provide assists, and he has proven this in his 2 years with Sporting Lisbon. I do believe if he came to the Premier League, he would produce the same element of the performances, that he has been doing in his couple of years with Sporting Lisbon. He is primarily attacking midfielder, don't forget, he is only 24 years of age, so still very, very young. And like I said, the situation with Paul Pogba, that's not having any effect on Bruno Fernandes, coming to Manchester United. So Bruno Fernandes' move to Manchester United is not dependent on what happens with Paul Pogba, because I think it's still initially Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans, to add 2 new additions in that midfield. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes did spend the majority of his career in Italy, when he was currently younger. Obviously with Sampdoria and Udinese, and I think he also played for Novria. So yeah, very, very good player. And he would dramatically improve in that midfield, because obviously if Paul Pogba leaves the football club, obviously we're going to look imbalanced in that midfield. Obviously we're going to lack creativeness in that midfield. But we had the likes of Bruno Fernandes or Milinkovic, Savic, our midfield will look imbalanced. But that's one of the pivotal areas, of course, where Manchester United, of course, have currently got to strengthen up. But yeah, so Bruno Fernandes, I was also recently talking with his representatives about his proposed move and that to Manchester United. But for the entirety of the summer, he's been linked to a move to the club, and obviously we've been in several talks and that with Sporting Lisbon. But he didn't actually say that the personal terms had been agreed, the contracts and that had been agreed. But obviously no fee, of course, is yet come to an agreement. But we're not intending on overspending on our current transfer tag, because we've got a history of spending big on players, especially in recent years. Pogba 8 to 9 million, Lukaku 75 million pounds, obviously our two most expensive signing, and a hell of a lot of money has been spent at the club over the years since Alex Ferguson retired. Obviously we've had different managers with different philosophies. Obviously 3 managers have been sacked since Alex Ferguson's retirement, and I think we are moving away from the policy of signing them well established players. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer anyway believes he's following a policy actually proved successful under Alex Ferguson, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes that Alex Ferguson of course transformed into a winner, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is following Alex Ferguson's philosophy. But yeah, I still hope Solskjaer can get Manchester United and that back to glory. But we haven't been competitive enough in the last couple of windows. We didn't get anyone in January. We didn't get as number one targets and that last summer. So we have got to get the right players and that to Manchester United. So obviously Bruno Fernandes' transfer saga to Man United does continue to persist. Obviously, as I give you the breaking news yesterday, and I also updated you about on my recent video in regards to Milinkovic Savic. Now we're looking at ultimately, according to recent reports, he could be actually be our third signing this summer. Could be Milinkovic Savic. Obviously, we are seeing him as a replacement for Paul Pogba. But reports were coming out quite recently. This was coming from an Italian outlet called La Repubblica, and they were basically saying Manchester United are close to signing Milinkovic Savic. I think reportedly, we're set to sign him for around 75 million euros, which does equate to around just over 67 million in pounds sterling. And I think there's also bonuses included in the deal. And reportedly, he's set to sign a 5-year deal with Manchester United. Of course, he's the Serbian. According to the Express yesterday, they said the fee had been agreed. They also said the contract term and that had been agreed. But reportedly, we've that Lazio themselves have agreed to sell Milinkovic Savic. But maybe his move to Manchester United, of course, is dependent on what happens with Paul Pogba. Obviously, a lot of reports are coming out about this the other week, and then she said, according to Sky in Italy, that Manchester United had obviously put a £72 million bid in, or were planning to put around the £72 million bid in for Milinkovic Savic. Obviously, it confirmed the other week that Lazio wanted around £90 million. Obviously, the Lazio president had confirmed this, but I do believe, according to recent reports, now Lazio have initially lowered their asking price, and now they are willing to accept bids in the region of around £70 million. Initially, last summer, I think Lazio wanted around £108 million, because obviously Manchester United have been relentlessly linked with Milinkovic Savic. But like I said about Milinkovic Savic, 24 years of age, I think he can play as an attacking mid. He's also played as a box-to-box midfielder. I think he's also operated him as a defensive midfielder. Obviously, he's been at Lazio 4 years. I think he's scored 25 goals. He's around 22 goals, in 125 games in the Serie A. And I do believe in all competitions, Milinkovic Savic has scored 31 goals in 138 games. Only signed a new deal with Lazio last October, so he's in the contract then until 2023. But I do believe Manchester United have held negotiations with Lazio. I do believe Milinkovic Savic's agent had come to the UK the other week, because obviously Manchester United have also been in negotiations with his agent. So do you think he would be a good replacement for Paul Pogba, Milinkovic Savic? Do you think he would be a good replacement for Paul Pogba? Like I said, I think his tenacity is good. His work ethnic is good. I think he's also pretty decent in the air. He can score goals. I think he's been inconsistent his last 5 or 6 months for Lazio, but in the majority of his 4 years with Lazio, he has done really, really well. So do you believe if come to Manchester United, exceed expectation levels? Do you think he'd have all the attributes, of course, to succeed? But maybe Milinkovic Savic to Manchester United, of course, is dependent on what happens with Paul Pogba. But there's quite a few names mentioned, who could replace Paul Pogba and that at the football club. So I think quite a few other teams have been in for Milinkovic Savic. Like I said, we was in for him last summer. I do believe, Jose Mourinho instructed scouts, to currently watch the player last summer. But 24 years of age, of course, I've still got a lot of years ahead of him. But yeah, there has been a lot of talks about that going on quite recently. So it's indicating now we're close to signing him. He's going to sign a 5-year deal. There's bonuses included in the deal. And reportedly we're set to get him for around £67 million sterling. But he also mentioned that there's bonuses included in the deal. So if we do obviously get him, we've spent £65 million so far this summer. So obviously if we do currently get him, that's going to take our spending up to around 132 million or 133 million pounds so far and that this summer. As I've been giving an update on a regular basis in regards to Sean Longstaff from Newcastle. Now, I do know he's been on our agenda, for quite some time. Now, quite a few weeks back, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer instructed, Manchester United to sign, instructed Manchester United, to sign Sean Longstaff. But now Newcastle have recently, well, in the last couple of weeks, should I say, Newcastle have indicated out that Sean Longstaff is not for sale, and he did say, they would only accept a bid in the region of around 50 million pounds. Obviously, we do know Newcastle have obviously just recommended Steve Bruce as their new manager, and obviously Steve Bruce has had his say on the speculation, linking Sean Longstaff to Manchester United, and basically Steve Bruce has basically said that Sean Longstaff's future lies with Newcastle, and he has rubbished him actually joining Manchester United. But reportedly Newcastle want around £50 million. I'm very sceptical, of course, about Manchester United paying this. We have not yet made any official bid for Sean Longstaff, but we are orchestrating on putting around £30 million bidding for the player. This obviously could be too insufficient for Newcastle, and initially we only value Sean Longstaff from between 18 to 20 million pounds, and Newcastle of course are demanding more than double this. Manchester United have been in negotiations with Newcastle, because obviously it's reported from Sky Sports a couple of weeks ago saying that we'd held high level talks with Newcastle, and it did we'd held high level talks with Newcastle, but Manchester United have not yet made any official bid. But I think £50 million is extortionate, for a player of Sean Longstaff's calibre or level, because I still say I've got the similar sort of thoughts with Daniel James, like I've said quite a few times. I think Sean Longstaff's still a prospect, and he still basically needs time to develop. So I still believe he's in the process of developing, because Sean Longstaff only made his senior debut for Newcastle in December of last year. Don't get me wrong, I'll credit him on this. He had a good second half. He had a good his season was good last season. In the second half of last season, that currently was, and I thought he thrived under Rafa Benitez's guidance. He obviously signed a new contract with Newcastle, so he's under contract with them till 2022, because he did sign a 4-year contract did Sean Longstaff, but he thrived under Rafa Benitez's guidance. But I do believe following the departure of Rafa Benitez, I think we've been initially given a boost in our pursuit of Sean Longstaff, but he's only 21 years of age, as you all know. He's primarily a central midfielder, so mainly a box-to-box midfielder. Of course, he's British. We've obviously signed 2 upcoming British players this summer, and obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to recruit British talents to Manchester United and all that. But he's definitely not worth £50 million pounds, Sean Longstaff. Obviously, he didn't play in the last couple of months of last season, due to a knee ligament injury. Of course, he had sustained in March. But yeah, the speculation, does continue to persist about Sean Longstaff. So obviously, we do know Manchester United, of course, have been in for him. But Steve Bruce has insisted that he's part of his plans at Newcastle. It's part of his plans for Newcastle and that this season. So there's been a lot of talks about him, currently going on. Obviously, as I've been updating you on a regular basis in regards to Nicolas Pepe from Lille. Now, obviously, it still remains uncertain, where he will be applying his trade this season. Obviously, Lille's president, Gerard Lopez, he recently came out, and he basically said, that Nicolas Pepe is on the verge of leaving Lille. Now, I think we have been emerged as favourites to sign Nicolas Pepe in the last couple of days. Obviously, Duncan Castles reported this out at the weekend, and he basically said that Manchester United had moved ahead of Liverpool and Arsenal, to currently sign Nicolas Pepe. Now, potentially, it didn't initially say we was orchestrating on putting around the £70 million bidding for him. Obviously, I do believe, Lille value him at around £70 million. As far as I'm aware, at this present time, no team has put any formal bidding yet for Nicolas Pepe. Liverpool have been heavily linked to him in the last couple of months. Obviously, Liverpool have made contact with his representatives, but they haven't made any bid. Obviously, Arsenal, I do believe, have been relentlessly linked to him since January. Probably Arsenal would have to offload a couple of their players anyway, to to obviously, help them, generate funds and, and all that, to meet that £70 million valuation, because as you all know, Arsenal have got a tight budget, they've only got from between 40 to £45 million to spend, but Arsenal, have obviously, been in there for him. Obviously, we do know Everton have inquired about his services, but I don't think he'll go to Everton, because Everton can't offer Nicolas Pepe any European football. PSG, of course, have been in there for him. So many teams have inquired about his services. But Lille, did confirm, this was around 6 or 7 weeks ago, of course, that it got confirmed that he was going to be leaving Lille. Obviously, I do believe Manchester United have progressed in talks, with Lille about the transfer of, Nicolas Pepe, but he's valued at around £70 million. But yeah, Nicolas Pepe, his permanent exit is on the verge of completion, like Gerard Lopez, the president of Lille, as currently confirmed. But yeah, so a very, very good player is Nicolas Pepe. Like I said, I would be excited about the prospect, of linking Nicolas Pepe up, with the likes of Rashford, Martial, Greenwood. I think, he would blend in our attacking line fantastically well. Nicolas Pepe is only 24 years of age. Obviously, has still got a lot of years ahead of him. Obviously, so far spent the entirety of his career in France. Obviously, he's been at Lille a couple of seasons. He scored 37 goals in 79 appearances for them in all competitions in his 2 years with Lille. He was the revelation for Lille last season, because he scored 22 goals and provided them 11 assists. And he's still got, I think, 3 years remaining on his contract with Lille. But his transfer saga away from Lille, seems to be coming to a conclusion, because he's on the verge, of course, of leaving Lille, but still remains uncertain where he will be applying his trade and that this season. But like I said, only 24 years of age. But yeah, very, very good player indeed. He's the obvious candidate for the right win for Manchester United, because obviously, he's primarily a winner, and of course, Manchester United are in search for a current winner. But I do believe Nicolas Pepe's actual preference is actually nowhere to make a move to Liverpool. But yeah, a lot of teams have been in there for him. I think he got reported out the other week, saying that Inter Milan, of course, were in there for Nicolas Pepe. So I did say Bruno Fernandes, Milinkovic, Savic, and Nicolas Pepe are going to cost us in the region of around £200 million. I doubt we're going to get 3 or 4 players, I'm sceptical that we're going to get 3 or 4 players, to Manchester United, within the space of just over 2 weeks. I think if we do sign any more players, we'll probably sign another 1 or 2 more players, of course, before this current window does shut. But Solskjaer was recently saying, as he updated recently, he isn't frustrated about this current window. He's very, very happy, with the 2 players that we've currently signed them and all. Obviously, he wants to bring quite a few more players in, but he said he's not frustrated, if we don't make any more signings in this current window. So yeah, he's really not frustrated about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as he was basically saying. But like I said, there has been a lot of players on our current agenda. Like I did say, I think we need to sell Diamond and Rojo. We definitely need to sell Diamond and Rojo, because both players have endured difficult times at Manchester United. With Damian, he hasn't really been given the chance, and I do believe with Marcus Rojo, his Manchester United career has been mainly affected with the amount of injuries and that is currently sustained. With Rojo, I think we want around £20 million, but I don't think we've had any bids put in yet for Marcus Rojo. But if we can recommend a central defender to come in, obviously, if we can recommend a central defender to come in, that means Rojo's move away from Manchester United will be looking even more likely, of course, to currently mature. But yeah, we have definitely got to currently sell players. But yeah, like I said, there's been a lot of players on our current agenda. Obviously, as I've been updating you on a regular basis, in regards to Harry Maguire, obviously you do know that Harry Maguire, of course, is a central defender, and obviously we do know Manchester United need a central defender, because we have got issues defensively. Now, looking at, we haven't had a world-class defence, since we had the likes of Vidic and Ferdinand, and we really haven't had the defence to rebuild on since we had the likes of Ferdinand, Vidic, Gary Neville and Patrice Evra. So I think we've had issues defensively, for several years. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of central defenders on our agenda, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does want someone to go alongside Victor Lindelof in our back line, and obviously he wants Harry Maguire to go alongside Victor Lindelof in our current back line. So I've been updating you regularly, of course, about Harry Maguire. I do believe he's obviously been relentlessly linked to a move to Manchester United, and I do believe Leicester City's valuation has seen to the stumbling block of Harry Maguire making his proposed move to Manchester United or Manchester City, because it has been Manchester United and Manchester City that have been battling out for his services. Obviously, Leicester have confirmed they want in the excess of around £80 million. Obviously, Leicester have confirmed they do want world record fee. So this is what Leicester have confirmed. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers is obviously aware of the speculation. He's aware of Manchester United and Manchester City's interest, but his basically overarching view is he's confirmed his overarching view is that Manchester United or Manchester City have obviously got to pay what Leicester are currently demanding. But obviously, Harry Maguire, he informed Leicester last week. He also informed Brendan Rodgers that, of course, that he does want to leave Leicester to rejuvenate his career and, of course, take his footballing career to the next level. But potentially, I think Leicester do want in excess of £80 million. Even some reports were indicating out saying they wanted around £90 million. But that's way too extortionate for Harry Maguire, because maybe for that price we could probably get Koulibaly from Napoli. But Harry Maguire is not worth £90 million. I don't think he's worth £80 million in my opinion. I think in this market, this day and age, probably £70 million, maybe £75 million, is reasonable, for Harry Maguire. But I do believe over that £70 million mark, I do believe, Leicester are market, asking for too much. But like I said, we basically, we've been in talks with Leicester for quite some time over getting Harry Maguire, and obviously it did initially say recently, we had breakthrough in negotiations, and reports were coming out on Sunday. This was actually stemming from Bleacher Report, and they basically said Manchester United have agreed a deal with Leicester for Harry Maguire, and reportedly, the fee is around £80 million. Obviously, that's a world record fee for a defender. Obviously, we do know the most expensive defender in the world at the moment is obviously Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk, who of course Liverpool paid £75 million for, and obviously you can't put Harry Maguire in Virgil van Dijk's calibre or level, because obviously Virgil van Dijk is the best central defender in the world. But I still believe Harry Maguire would dramatically improve us, and of course if he's our third signing this summer, it's going to take our spending up to around £148 million. Initially it said we'd pay £70 million up front on Sunday, with £10 million in add-ons, based on how Harry Maguire performs. But reportedly, if he's moved to Manchester United, does materialise, reportedly Harry Maguire has demanded that he does want to be a captain and that of Manchester United. But like I did say, 26 years of age is Harry Maguire. Obviously, still got a lot of years ahead of him. Obviously, of course, he's British, but he's well Premier League proven, and of course that's very beneficial and that for Manchester United. Obviously, reflected back a couple of weeks ago, it was looking likely Manchester City were going to get Harry Maguire. Obviously, it said City were orchestrating on paying him £280,000 a week. It also said City were going to get him for a world record fee of £80 million. Obviously, City have been seeing him as a replacement for Vincent Kompany and all that. And initially, Harry Maguire's first choice preference was Manchester City ahead of Manchester United. But obviously, City are not willing to pay what Leicester are demanding. I think City are only willing to pay in the excess around £65 million for his services. But looking at ultimately, Leicester don't want to sell Harry Maguire, and this is the main factor reason why they've priced him out of the market. This is why, of course, they are demanding an extortionate amount, because of course Leicester don't want to sell the player. But Harry Maguire, very very good central defender. I think he blended alongside Lindelof in our back line fantastically well. Because as you all know, with Victor Lindelof, he's still definitely a long-term solution for Manchester United, because I do believe, he will flourish in this Manchester United team, because obviously in his second season, Victor Lindelof, did really well. There was vast improvements in that in his game. I think he struggled for consistency in his first season, did Victor Lindelof. Don't get me wrong, didn't really settle in, but there was a vast improvement in his second game. And obviously there's been recent reports allegedly saying that he's been linked to a move to Barcelona, but I do believe Lindelof has dismissed the speculation of linking him with a move to Barcelona and all that. But yeah, definitely still a long-term solution for Manchester United. But I do believe we need at least one central defender. Harry Maguire, of course, wants to leave to rejuvenate his career and of course take his footballing career to the next level. But Harry Maguire's been at Leicester 2 years. He's made 76 appearances in all competitions. 69 of those appearances have come in the Premier League. He only signed a new long-term contract with Leicester last summer, don't forget, so he is under contract with them until 2023. Leicester paid around £17 million for his services from Hull, because he did have quite a few years there with Hull, and actually did play under Mike Phelan's guidance. So Mike Phelan, of course, himself only had a short tenure with Hull, but I think Mike Phelan's instructed Manchester United, of course, to sign Harry Maguire. But I do believe, was also in for Harry Maguire, when he was a youngster at Sheffield United. So I do believe, Manchester United were tracking him then. Well, initially he began his career with Sheffield United, did Harry Maguire. But I do believe, like I said, Manchester United were in for him. Now, obviously, we've already had a £70 million bid turned down for him, because obviously that's too insufficient and that for Leicester. But Harry Maguire's stability is good. He shows that ability to play out from the back. He's not really fast, Harry Maguire, but I don't think that's currently an issue. But he will dramatically improve defensively, because last season we conceded 54 goals in 38 Premier League games. And obviously, reflecting back last summer, our actual priority, of course, was to recommend a central defender, and that's coming. Maybe some people think that midfield and that right wing position is more imperative, and of course, then recommending a central defender to come in. But I do believe Harry Maguire is our number one defensive target. But there's been a lot of central defenders on our agenda. Some people are still instructing Manchester United, to go on and sign Toby Alderweireld from Tottenham. Now, I like Toby Alderweireld a lot. But I wouldn't say is as good as Harry Maguire, and obviously Toby Alderweireld is obviously a much cheaper solution than Harry Maguire. There's a possibility now that Alderweireld could stay at Tottenham Football Club, so he could remain loyal to them. But his initial release clause is around £25 million. Is Toby Alderweireld, so there's still some people saying we should go in there for Alderweireld. Obviously, with Koulibaly, he's been relentlessly again, linked to move to Manchester United. But I do believe with Koulibaly, I think the only way we could get him is if we was willing to pay silly amounts of money for him. Looking at it, probably will cost us more than Harry Maguire, and he's a very good central defender. Koulibaly is regarded as one of the best centre halves in the world. I don't think he's as good as Virgil van Dijk, but I still think he's a really good central defender. He's Koulibaly, but like I said, I think he's going to be staying at Napoli. Obviously, was in for De Ligt at one point, but obviously he's obviously gone to Juventus. So obviously De Ligt's totally out of the equation. Was in for Rafael Varane. Quite recently we was in for Rafael Varane. I think we was also in for him last summer, but it's confirmed now Rafael Varane is staying at Real Madrid. So initially we was willing to spend an extortionate amount on a central defender last summer. I do believe we was intending on spending around £100 million on a central defender that last summer. But like I said, still lots to address this Manchester United squad, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding, because I'm analysing the majority of this squad is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Obviously, the only two players that are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's is Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's expectations, will be to get Manchester United, back to being a competitive elite level football club. I did initially say this season probably our expectations probably will be to finish at least in the top four, maybe win, maybe add some silverware onto that, maybe win the Europa League or maybe win the Carabao Cup. But I just believe Manchester United will not be winning the league this season, because obviously analysing it at the moment, City is strides ahead of us, Liverpool and that are strides ahead of us, and it's very imperative that we catch up with likes of Manchester City and Liverpool. But like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got a bit of experience as a manager. Don't forget, he has got a bit of experience as a manager. He won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mold. He proved himself in his first 3 months as interim manager at Manchester United, and obviously had a great pedigree as a player. Did Solskjaer, obviously was a great player for 11 years under Alex Ferguson, so he did flourish under Alex Ferguson's guidance. But like I said, regardless of our managers, no one's going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. We're never going to achieve what we achieved under Alex Ferguson, over 20 odd years and a succession that we did currently have, and that's something we've currently got to accept. But we have been a toxic club for the last 5 or 6 years, and obviously we've been playing catch up. But obviously we've been mismanaged. This is why, of course, we have been underachieving. But I hope it works out under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because one, I love him, and two, we haven't got the manager, we haven't got the structure, of course, to keep currently sacking managers. But so hopefully Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get the majority of the players that he does want into Manchester United before this current window does currently shut. But like I did say, I'll give you my Manchester United Tottenham preview today, didn't I? Earlier on. Obviously, it is our fourth game of pre-season, as you all currently know. It's Manchester United Tottenham in Shanghai, China, and I do believe it is venued at the Hongkou Stadium and all that. So it is our fourth game of pre-season. Obviously, we've had a great start to pre-season so far. We have currently won 3 games out of 3. Obviously, 7 goals scored, no goals conceded. We beat Perth Glory. We beat Leeds, and of course, we have beat Inter Milan. So what a fantastic start, we've had to pre-season. I know pre-season is mainly meaningless, but I think it gives the upcoming players, a bit of more experience under their belt. So pre-season is very beneficial for that. But we've had a really good start to pre-season. I do believe that the young players have really stepped up to the plate, and they've done really, really well. I think Mason Greenwood's done well. Obviously, Mason Greenwood has been assured more playing time. Going on to this season, he's going to be promoted into into the Manchester United first team is Mason Greenwood, which is very, very good. He scored 2 goals in his last 2 games. Obviously, was impressive for the reserves last season, scored 30 goals in 29 games. And I do believe he played well in the Cardiff game on the last game of last season, did Mason Greenwood. So 17 years of age, and of course he is the upcoming future, so he's done fantastic. I think Chon's done really, really well. I think Gomez has done quite well, but some people have actually orchestrated on us loaning Chong and Gomez out for a season, to obviously make it better for their future, and obviously to get a bit of experience and that under their belt. I think Alex Tuanzebe did well against Inter Milan. I think Andres Pereira's done quite well. I think McTominay and that's done really, really well. So I think the majority of the youngsters have done well. But yeah, in this game against Tottenham, I think this is going to be our real first tester against Tottenham in pre-season, because obviously Tottenham are pretty competitive. They're a competitive team now with Tottenham. Obviously they've got 2 players so far on the board this summer. They signed Tanguy Ndombele for around £50 million. Obviously Tottenham's a record signing. Obviously it's their most expensive signing. Obviously they got Jack Clarke from Leeds. I still believe Tottenham are in there for Giovanni Lo Celso. I do believe Tottenham have been in there for Ryan Sessegnon, and obviously they won their first pre-season game. Tottenham have only played 1 game in pre-season at the moment. Obviously, they beat Juventus by 3 goals to 2. And I think Harry Kane had actually scored the winner. I think it was in injury time, but it was I think Harry Kane had actually scored a 50-yarder, and you've got to say that's probably one of the best goals in his current career. Harry Kane's. But like I said, Tottenham are a pretty decent team. They have got good players in their squad of Tottenham. Don't forget. But obviously, I think Mauricio Pochettino's expectations will be, and I think that he actually, from him himself, he obviously wants to win a trophy here with Tottenham, because he's a good manager, is Pochettino, and he's proven now in the Premier League, and he's good at developing young players and that, but obviously hasn't proven himself in terms of winning any silverware, because he hasn't won any silverware yet as manager. So in that, he hasn't really got that pedigree. He hasn't got the pedigree of winning anything, but he's got that proven pedigree in the Premier League. But he wants to win a trophy with Tottenham. But Tottenham did progress to their first Champions League final last season. But of course, Liverpool, did beat them by 2 goals to 0. But like I said, it's going to be pretty tough in that for Manchester United. But Tottenham have got good players. They've got Dele Alli, they've got Serge Aurier, who I think was a good signing for Tottenham. They've got Davinson Sanchez a couple of years ago for Ajax. Obviously, they've got the likes of Heung-min Son. Obviously, like I said, they've got Harry Kane. They've got Christian Eriksen. Obviously, he's been linked to move away from Tottenham. They've got Danny Rose, of course. Manchester United were in for them a couple of years ago. So Tottenham, you've got Dele Alli. They've got a pretty decent team of Tottenham. So I think it will be a difficult test there for Manchester United. But like I said, it's 12:30 tomorrow, kick-off in the UK. Of course, I am really looking forward to it. Like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done his press conference today, like I did give him an update on my recent video. He's given us a bit of team news. He said Lindelof, going to be okay. He's going to be fine, is Lindelof, because obviously Lindelof had to come off injured in the previous game against Inter Milan. Obviously with Chong, I think he's also okay, because obviously he initially he sustained a knock against Inter Milan. But he has given us some breaking news in regards to Romelu Lukaku as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he has basically said that Romelu Lukaku he's not going to be fit enough to play. He said Solskjaer did say that Lukaku was working with physios in the last few days, but Solskjaer still indicated out that Lukaku is not fully fit. I think Solskjaer said that Lukaku must have sustained some kind of injury in training, and I think Lukaku has got some kind of ankle problem, so he's not yet played on pre-season tour as Lukaku. But there's quite a few players that haven't played on pre-season tour as yet. Lukaku hasn't, Sanchez hasn't, because obviously Sanchez of course has been injured. Obviously we know Lee Grant. I don't think Lee Grant has yet, because obviously Lee Grant's been injured. I think what's his name, Demetri Mitchell, I think's been injured. I think Fossil Mensah of course has been injured. So Dean Henderson, of course, has not yet. So there's been quite a few players, now, that haven't currently played on pre-season tour. But Lukaku, like I said, this is going to have more speculation in regards to his long-term future, because we do know Lukaku is obviously being relentlessly linked to a move to Inter Milan, and for the entirety of the summer, Lukaku has been speaking about his proposed move to Inter Milan. But obviously, we said we want around 75 or 80 million pounds. Obviously, we said one around 75 or 80 million pounds for Romelu Lukaku. I've just done something wrong. So yeah, we're on around 75 or 80 million pounds for Romelu Lukaku. So basically, we're looking to recoup the money that we did pay for him a couple of years ago, or we even auction it and gain a little bit of a profit. Obviously, Inter Milan are struggling to meet our 75 or 80 million pound valuation, and of course, Inter Milan have tried to offload a couple of their players to help them generate funds, to meet that 75 or 80 million pound valuation. But Inter Milan are struggling to currently meet this, because I do believe that Inter Milan are under financial fair play restrictions. We do know, I think if Manchester United can offload Lukaku, it will be beneficial for Manchester United. It'll also be beneficial for Lukaku himself, because he's surplus to requirements at Manchester United. As obviously, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended in, obviously we do know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice preference has been Marcus Rashford ahead of Romelu Lukaku, and of course Lukaku has increasingly become frustrated about this. But I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was talking with Romelu Lukaku the other week, and he's basically, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's pleading Lukaku to stay for one more season, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer probably still believes how much of an imperative player he is, even though he has been obviously because even though he has found himself surplus to requirements and that with Manchester United, we still know of course how much of an imperative player he is and all that. So we do know obviously Inter Milan recently put a £54 million bid in for Lukaku. Obviously we do know Manchester United turned this down, because obviously this is too insufficient, because obviously we want somewhere in the region of around 75 or 80 million pounds. Obviously we do know Inter Milan have inquired about getting Romelu Lukaku on a 2-year loan. Obviously we're not willing to let him go on loan, because we're only willing to let Lukaku of course go on a permanent deal. Now reports have come out today saying that reportedly we have actually imposed a deadline on Lukaku's transfer to Inter Milan. So reportedly we're giving Inter Milan around 7 days to meet that 75 million pound valuation. But actually reports indicated that was it last month, if I'm right, saying that or just over a month ago, that he'd agreed the personal terms with Inter Milan. It also said he had agreed a contract worth around 180 grand a week, but no fees come to an agreement. But Antonio Conte has identified Lukaku as his number one target, because reflecting back a couple of years ago, Antonio Conte wanted Romelu Lukaku. This is when he was manager of Chelsea, but obviously, he ended up making the move to Manchester United. And obviously, I think Lukaku has described Antonio Conte as one of the best managers in the world, so he's keen on playing under his guidance. But Lukaku, of course, does want to leave the football club, as he has confirmed. Lukaku's agent, I think, has been working very hard on trying to get his client, his client a move to Inter Milan, because Lukaku's agent has said that obviously Inter Milan are desperate to sign Romelu Lukaku. But like I said, we're also unwilling to accept swap deals that Inter Milan have offered, for Lukaku. So obviously they've tried offering his Mario Icardi, they've tried, I think, offering his Radja Nainggolan. Recent reports have said that they've offered his Ivan Perisic, plus cash in exchange for Lukaku. But more than likely, Manchester United will not currently go along with this current offer. Some people say, Ivan Perisic, would be good and that for Manchester United. Some people have currently said this. But yeah, so we're giving Inter Milan reporting around 7 days. But Lukaku has been at the club 2 years. He's scored 42 goals in 96 games in all competitions. Lukaku was exceptional in his first season, but of course he didn't really replicate that form of course in his second season and all that. But I think credit to Lukaku, his ratio is still very good in the Premier League. His goal scoring pedigree is absolutely fantastic and that in the Premier League, and he's still got a lot of years ahead of him. Lukaku, still 26 years of age, and I do believe if Manchester United of course do get rid of him, of course we do need a current replacement as a player. But possibly, Lukaku could remain at the football club. Could remain with the football club and all that, so we will basically see what currently happens. I've obviously already given you, didn't I, the latest news regards to David De Gea. Obviously we do know he's agreed a 6-year contract with Manchester United. Obviously David De Gea's contract has not yet been announced. I do presume it's currently going to be announced when he does return from our pre-season tour. Obviously I could be actually after we play Tottenham tomorrow. It actually could be fully announced. I'm not too sure if we're travelling from after Tottenham game this is. I'm not sure if we're going to be coming back to the UK from China, or we're going to be coming from China to Norway. I'm not too sure about that, but of course I will currently find out. But David De Gea's contract will be definitely announced either after the Tottenham game, or when we do return from our pre-season tour, which is very, very good. So I'm glad De Gea is going to be staying in the football club, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer of course knows how imperative David De Gea is. So yeah, very, very impressed about that. like I said, with Luke Shaw, I think he's done okay. Luke Shaw, obviously, he was Player of the Year last season. We do know how imperative Luke Shaw is. Obviously, he didn't play against Leeds. He did play bits of the game against Perth Glory, but obviously came off with a hamstring injury. But yeah, definitely Luke Shaw is our current first choice left back. But I've been impressed with the majority of the players in pre-season. I think Pogba's been good. I think Rashford's been very, very good. He scored in our first 2 games in pre-season against Perth Glory and Leeds. Obviously, I think Martial's also been fantastic. I think Matic has been disappointing in pre-season so far. I think Mata was poor against Leeds, but I thought he did well against Inter Milan. Of course, against Leeds, Mata was playing in that number 10. But I've been impressed with the majority of the players. And with Daniel James, we do know he primarily plays off the left, but I think we actually started him on the right against Inter Milan. I think we actually played Martial centrally against Inter Milan, where we started, Martial of course centrally. So we have got more pace now up front, because we was lacking pace last season. You've got Daniel James with good pace, Martial with good pace, Rashford and that with good pace. But like I said, still lots to address in the squad. So the main part of this video was to give you the latest news about Bruno Fernandes. Like I said, the Sporting Lisbon bosses give us an update regularly about the Bruno Fernandes saga, and he's admitted that Bruno Fernandes could leave. He recently indicated how his transfer to Manchester United is close, but he did admit that Sporting Lisbon are going to find it hard to get an adequate replacement and that for Bruno Fernandes. This is what they have basically admitted. Yeah, so that's mainly everything to update you. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.